Today, we delve into the realm of architectural dreams as we explore 5 mind-bending mega skyscrapers that never became a reality. But before we continue our video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming updates. Let's begin. Number 5. Azerbaijan Tower. In 2010, Azerbaijani businessman Ibrahim Ibrahimov was flying home from Dubai to Baku, Azerbaijan's capital city. He had just returned from an oil-rich city that had elevated itself onto the world stage by constructing beautiful and breathtaking buildings. He wondered if he could do the same in his hometown of Baku, which also had deep pockets due to its vast oil reserves. This was a 3-hour flight, and he had plenty of time on his hands. Rather than catching a movie or listening to music, he decided to sketch out his new vision for Baku. This involved artificial islands in the Caspian Sea called the Khazar Islands, and its centerpiece would be the Azerbaijan Tower. But creating something similar to Dubai would not elevate Baku onto the world stage. To really put Baku on the map, Azerbaijan needed something even taller than the Burj Khalifa. Not only that, it needed to be bigger than every other building under construction. Ibrahimov decided that it would be 1050 meters tall, meaning that it would be taller than the Burj Khalifa, as well as the proposed Jeddah Tower in Saudi Arabia. With just this idea alone, he caught the attention of the New York Times. He told one reporter it will cost $3 billion just to build Azerbaijan Tower. Some people may object. I don't care. I will build it alone. I work with my feelings. Ibrahimov then told the press that if someone tried building a bigger building than his, he would build an even bigger one. The New York Times headline was, "Azerbaijan is rich. Now it wants to be famous." Azerbaijan Tower would be surrounded by 55 artificial islands. These artificial islands would contain hotels, a yacht club, and airport of its own, and even a Formula One racetrack. The tower would cost $3 billion, whereas the entire islands would cost approximately $100 million. Construction started in 2015 with the intention of completing the tower in 2019. However, Azerbaijan had become so rich from oil that it centered almost its entire economy on the oil and gas industry. When oil prices collapsed in 2015, so did the Azerbaijani economy. In the middle of 2015, Ibrahimov was about to board another plane. Except this time, he was trying to flee Azerbaijan to escape the authorities who were trying to arrest him. But before he could get on that plane, he was caught by the police. He was temporarily arrested because of a $57 million loan he had failed to pay back. This loan was intended for the construction of the Khazar Islands. 2019 was the year that Baku was supposed to be home to the world's tallest building. Number 4. America's tallest failed skyscraper. We stay in Chicago and take a look at a much more realistic skyscraper, which was even under construction almost 50 years after Wright's proposal. The Chicago Spire was to become the tallest building in the country, and would have kept that record to this day. It was designed by another famous Spanish architect, Santiago Calatrava, who has designed other impressive projects like the World Trade Center Transportation Hub and Sweden's Turning Torso. The Spire was originally proposed in 2005 and was taken over by Garrett Kelleher of the Shelburne Corporation for construction. The tower would have had a slender curved design that would rise 610 meters into the Chicago sky with great enthusiasm. The construction of this project began in 2007 because of the slender design. The tower's foundations had to be very deep, so excavation went 22 meters into the ground. Number 3. The India Tower. Skyscraper takes us to Mumbai, India. In the early 21st century, Mumbai was a thriving city, but it was missing its landmark symbol. Paris had the Eiffel Tower, New York had the Statue of Liberty, and Mumbai was supposed to have the India Tower proposed in 2008. The building was initially set to be 301 meters high, but 2 years later, the height was doubled to 707 meters. The building was designed by Foster & Partners, a UK-based architectural firm that designed many well-known buildings. Its futuristic design was to symbolize India as a modern and prosperous country. The India Tower was expected to have large observational decks on the 93rd and 4th floors, including a dedicated VIP Flora-tuned mass damper that would also be in place to absorb high winds. This technology is also found in other buildings, such as Shanghai Tower, Taipei 101, and even is used in Formula One race cars as well. Although this was an exciting opportunity, the giant India Tower did not come without its critics. Local authorities thought that the skyscraper was too tall, and soon began a lengthy court battle against the developers. Eventually, the India Tower received the green light and construction finally began in 2010. But just a year later, construction hit another brick wall. When the idea for India's mega skyscraper was born, the Indian economy was thriving, and the developers expected that it would stay that way. Unfortunately, however, once construction began, the Indian economy started to stagnate. One of the fastest-growing economies in the world began to slow down, creating havoc for future developments. The developers soon ran into financial difficulties and were unable to pay their debts. In March 2011, the authorities imposed a construction freeze, and all building work came to a halt. By 2013, the investors decided to pull the plug completely. The developers were now sitting on an empty lot. A few years passed, and a slightly less ambitious project was launched instead of a single huge building. 260-story buildings were proposed, but this project didn't get off the ground either. Construction was abandoned a second time, and the Indian media described the site as jinxed for a decade, while India Tower was already highly ambitious. Number 2. The Dream Airport above New York. Everyone has an image in mind when they think of New York with its cultural landmarks and its iconic skyline. But this image could have looked quite different today with an insane plan proposed in the 1940s that would have completely changed Midtown Manhattan. In 1946, one of New York's most successful real estate developers, William Zeckendorf, proposed the idea for a rooftop airport in Midtown Manhattan along the shores of the Hudson River, dubbed New York City's Dream Airport. The megastructure would span the length of 144 Manhattan blocks with a 70-meter-high deck, roughly the size of Central Park. A series of 10-story buildings were to be constructed underneath the deck for waiting areas, ticket offices, and small businesses. The airport wouldn't just accommodate air travel. The plans included piers for ships from the Hudson River, as well as roads and railways beneath the platform, estimated to cost $3 billion at the time. It would have been the biggest airport project of all time. The main motivation for this plan was to reduce travel time. In the 1940s, New York already had problems with traffic congestion and with all of its major airports outside of Manhattan. Reaching these transit points was often difficult. A midtown airport would have erased the need for travelers to drive to Newark, LaGuardia, or JFK. If built, the airport would have changed New York forever. Some of the skyscrapers seen today lay in this area, for example, Hudson Yards, and wouldn't exist today, but also the surrounding area would have been developed quite differently. While this idea looks crazy, there are obvious reasons why this plan didn't turn into reality. First of all, an airport in the middle of the world's busiest city would be a nightmare for the residents. This airport was designed to accommodate 68 flights an hour, so people would essentially deal with aircraft noise every minute of the day. In addition, the traffic in New York was a major problem already, and with people flooding to Midtown for their flights, it would add another congestion headache to the city's planners. Number 1. The sphere vision of the Pyramids of Giza. For our last mega project, we go further back in time to the 18th century in France. This project was said to be dedicated to one of the world's most important scientists, Sir Isaac Newton, in his honor. French architect Otton Louis Bol proposed this 150-meter-high SAF that would even surpass the Great Pyramid of Giza. While the Great Pyramid was the burial place of Egyptian Emperor Khufu, the SAF was planned to be a memorial for Sir Isaac Newton, who rests in London's Westminster Abbey. As an homage to Newton's scientific contributions, Boulay wanted to build what was the world's first dome planetarium. Boulay dotted the interior of his spherical structure with tiny holes reflecting the positions of the constantly. And the planets during the night, a majestic spherical lamp would illuminate the structure and act like the sun in a universe created by the arrangement of holes on the surface. His proposal just wasn't doable at the time. Who himself would have been aware of that as he saw architecture, not just as a science of building, but more as a science of ideas and imagination. So Theta remained an incredible idea that didn't get built. As we conclude our exploration of these unrealized mega skyscrapers, we are reminded of the boundless creativity and daring visions of architects throughout history. While these structures may never grace our skylines, they continue to inspire us to push the boundaries of what is possible in the world of architecture. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and stay tuned for more captivating content on our channel.